Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is going to be a really quick video. We're just going to zip through this exercise and try to break down what's going on to help some students here in the course better understand what the exercise is asking. So this is Colt Steele's Web Developer Bootcamp 2021, and the exercise is map practice. We're dealing with the array map method, and what it's asking is they want us to define a function called clean names, and it should accept an array of strings, which we're just going to assume that they're strings. We're not going to check and make sure that they're all strings. And each string may contain an additional space character at the beginning or at the end, or potentially both. And the clean names function should use the array map method to return a new array full of trimmed names. So basically, here's the example. Clean names is a function. It accepts an array of strings here. Some of these strings have some spaces either before or after. And what we want to ultimately return with this map method is a new array with all those strings, but without the spaces on either side. So if you scroll down, it says, hint, use a string method to trim each string. So obviously, all caps, bold, trim means that there's a method called trim for strings that will do the getting rid of the spaces so we don't have to do it ourselves. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. It first says define a function called clean names, and it should accept an array of strings. So we're going to say function clean names, and then it takes in an array. We're just going to call it ARR for short. And then we want to run the map method on that array so that we can iterate over every single element in the array. An element is each one of these items here inside the array, so each one of these strings. And then we want to use the trim method on each one of those strings to return the string, but without the spaces. So we're going to return the array with the, with the map method being called on it. The map method is a array prototype method that accepts a callback function, and that callback function has 1 to 3 arguments. In this case, we'll use 1 to deal with each element in the array. So we'll say function L, so L stands for element, and it's just saying for each element inside of the array that this map method is being called on, we're going to do something. And that something that we're going to do happens inside of this callback function. And now we have access to each one of those elements with this variable called L. So here we want to get rid of or trim the space around the string. So we just use L.trim because we assume that L is a string. And so in order for that to get returned into the new array, we actually have to return it. So we're returning from the outer function the array, the results from array.map, which is a new array that gets created. You can see an example of that here in the comment. So it's a new array with all these string elements that are trimmed of their white space. And so the return here, we have L.trim, and that will go through each one and trim out all the extra space. All right, cool. So that should actually work. If we check the solution here, it says, well done, your solution is correct. So again, we just defined a function here, clean names, that whenever it gets invoked and has an array passed into it and the array has strings, it's going to iterate over each one of those strings and make sure that they're trimmed of any space on either side. To shorten this up and make it a little bit cleaner, you can refactor it to use ES6. So basically this function here, you could turn it into an arrow function simply by removing the function keyword, and then on the other side of the parameter, you put the arrow. So that will also come back as correct. Because we only have one parameter, you can actually remove the parentheses. So you just get L and then the arrow. And in fact, since we only have one line of code, we can move that one line up, and we can get rid of the brackets and move the closing paren to where it all becomes one line here. We're returning array.map, and then it's the L is the parameter. This is indicating that we have a function, and this is the action inside the function, and it's implicitly returned, so we no longer need the return keyword. Also, because it's on one line, we no longer need the closing open and close brackets to make it a block. And so what we end up with is this little one-liner here inside of our clean names function. And if you check that solution, it should also say that that solution is correct. All right, still correct. So that's it. I think some of the confusion here for students was that they're defining a function that then returns a method call, and that method call takes another function or a callback as its argument. So hopefully just seeing it written out here and kind of hearing me go through it will explain, or better explain, what the exercise is asking for and how it all works. But if you still continue to have questions, totally understandable, please ask them in the comments below, and we'll do our best to get back to you and help explain it further. So thanks a lot for watching this video, and please leave it a like, and if you're not subscribed, please consider doing that, and we will catch you all in the next video. Thanks a lot.